Hi, Lee Phillips here. I'm an attorney and I've actually written several books about trusts. So I want to talk about how to choose the right trust for your needs. Now, if you're mom and pop and the interest that you have is to simply avoid probate, make sure the kids don't fight over stuff, and pass on your property, hopefully without an estate tax, then the Living Revocable Trust is the one that you need. It's easy. You can click the link on this webinar, on this YouTube video, and I'll walk you through it on a webinar. It's about an hour and 15, 20 minutes, but it's good. Just click the link below and you can go there. You can do your own. It's easy. This is a piece of cake. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need legal doom and all of these guys. You can do as many of these as you want. And the funny thing is, you need them for you. You need them for each one of the kids. You need them for your mom and dad, her mom and dad, his mom and dad. And the funny thing is, they look about the same. A lawyer does not create a new piece of paper for everybody that walks in. There are little differences. Now, if you've got a taxable estate, then we're going to have to play a different game. There's money on the table here. Yes, you're going to have a living revocable trust, but it's going to split into two pieces. When the first spouse dies, him or her, doesn't matter, it creates a trust A and a trust B. Lawyers don't count too high, so they call one trust A and one trust B. The A trust is called the marital trust usually. The B trust is called the shelter trust or the family trust, and it shelters the amount of property that an individual can pass without having to pay an estate tax. Now, the federal estate tax is pretty high. It's in 2025, it's almost $14 million. So, mom and dad, me and you, we're probably not too worried about the estate tax federal level. Now, some states, and I'll just tell you that they're blue states, have their own estate tax. So they have a state estate tax. And they're a lot lower. Some of them start as low as a couple of $1,000,000. They're not the 40% tax that the federal is, but they're 16 plus percentage in most cases. In fact, I think 16 is the low, basically. But we can still create the marital trust and the shelter trust so that we get two whacks at the amount. So if the state says you can pass $4 million without an estate tax, then we'll shelter $4 million at the first death. And then when the second spouse, the surviving spouse dies, they can get $4 million too. Now this $4 million over here in the shelter trust, it's available to the surviving spouse. It's no big deal. I'll explain all of that to you in the webinar. But if it's taxable, let's pay a little more attention to it. If the only thing we're doing is dividing the estate up between the kids, avoiding the family fight, and avoiding probate, piece of cake, you can do it, no problem. And, okay, we want to do something else. We want to protect assets. In these living revocable trusts, there is no asset protection. It's what's called a disregarded entity. It's you. So you file your taxes just like you always did. You get sued just like you always did. It doesn't matter that these assets are in the trust. You have to put the assets in the trust. That's a whole other situation. I teach you how to do that on the webinar. But once you've got the assets in, they avoid the probate. No asset protection. How do we get asset protection out of a trust? Well, if it has the word revocable in it, there is no asset protection. I don't care if it's a land trust. I don't care what kind of trust it is. No protection. Zero. What about an irrevocable trust? Well, irrevocable trusts do have asset protection. And the tradition was we set up a trust and we have our kids be the beneficiaries. Dad puts property in, it's protected from his creditors, and the kids get the benefit of it. We can't create what's called a self-settled trust. I create an irrevocable trust. I put assets into it, and then I get the benefit of the assets, but my creditors can't get to it. That's not fair. And they've said, no, that's not fair. We call that a self-settled trust. I settle it or I create it myself. It's irrevocable and I get to use the assets. No, can't do that. So we have a whole series of these trusts. We call them children's trust under section 2503. We call them insurance trusts. They protect life insurance. We have a whole series of these irrevocable trusts where you can set it up, have somebody else get the benefit out of it, and remove it from your estate. No tax on it, because you give it away now. It's gone, not in your estate. Goes over here, protected from your creditors, and the children or the grandchildren or your favorite lawyer. How about me, huh, guys? Your favorite lawyer, whoever it is, they get the benefit of it. So we can do that all day long. Now note, I said you gave it away. It's gone. Bye-bye. The charitable remainder trust. It's gone. Bye-bye. All of these trusts that we're setting up, you're moving the property away from you, giving it to the trust. That means there may be a gift tax. So check that one out. And somebody else gets the benefit. There's one more type of trust I'm going to talk about. And it started in Alaska back in, the late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in there. And we call it the Alaskan Trust. Or they call it a legacy trust. Or they call it an asset protection trust. Or there's a dozen different names for it. There are about 15, 16 states that say, okay, you can create an irrevocable trust. You can put the asset into the trust. And then you can get the benefit out of the trust, and it's protected from your creditors. The catch is that it has to be seasoned. It has to sit in this trust for about 5 years. That's the common one. To make sure that you don't have any creditors out there that you're screwing. We'll protect it from new creditors, but we won't protect it from people you might already owe stuff to. So they give you this 5-year look-back period. And so it doesn't lock down and become asset protected for 5 years. It is an irrevocable trust. You can manage it as the trustee. By the way, you're the trustee of the living revocable trust, so you're in full control. Now, if you really want the irrevocable trust to be out of your estate, then you need to have another trustee participate in it. In the asset protection trusts, the states make it so that you need to have a trustee in their state, or at least a citizen of their estate be the trustee. Alaska did it to get money up into the banking system in Alaska. The Alaska trusts, the Alaska banks would act as trustee. That's why it came about. And then other states now have adopted it. Like I say, 15, 16, 18, somewhere in there. States have adopted some version of this asset protection trust. So the three main trusts you're going to look at are the revocable trust. That's the living revocable trust for estate planning. It could be a land trust. People put real estate in them and they say it gives them asset protection. No, it doesn't. It's a revocable trust. May give you a little bit of anonymity, make you so they can't find you. But the answer is anonymity doesn't work these days, guys. With what we've got on the computers, you're not hiding from anybody. So the revocable trusts, the irrevocable trust, the standard one where I give it away, somebody else is the beneficiary. And the third type is the asset protection trust, the Alaskan trust, the legacy trust, whatever it is you want to call it. And sign up, or you don't need to sign up, just click on the link and it'll take you to the webinar that I do on trusts, and I can't give you these trusts in 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever this is. So I've got to spend at least an hour or an hour and a half to even scratch the surface of what trusts really are. And if you get down to it, there's dozens of different types of trusts. It's one of the oldest legal forms that we have. This is Lee Phillips talking about trusts, and stay tuned. We'll talk more about trusts. I like trusts.